G'day mates, it's the Doctor here, and it's time to go over more Yu-Gi-Oh cards that need to be reprinted. If you haven't seen the first video, I'll put a link in the description, and if there are any cards you feel like I should have mentioned in this list, I would have likely mentioned them in that video, so instead of going over the same cards again, here are some other cards that we will discuss today. Also, this list is based on my personal preference, so not arranged by the oldest or most competitive. It's my list with my own reasons, and if I do fail to mention a card or two, please post in the comments. But without further ado, let's get this discussion going. Number 10. Galas the Star Beast. A gimmicky card that has probably passed its prime, Galas is still a nifty component for certain decks that can aid players for instant synchro, exceeds, or link summoning. Not only is it completely generic, but it can special summon itself from the hand, inflict bird damage, and mill your deck by 1. Sure, it may be a gamble, but I'm certain most players that choose to run Galas will stack their decks with the majority of cards consisting of monsters, so the odds are in their favor. While Galas isn't the type of card that can alter the current meta, the fact it has been 9 years since we last saw a printing for this card is reason enough to give it another chance. I mean, let's face it, Konami has made some really pointless decisions on what to reprint, so I doubt anyone would complain about a card like Galas coming back. Number 9. Chevalier de Fleur. Seacrons took a massive hit with Jet Seacron getting banned, and I know the deck wasn't competitive in the slightest, but even for casual players, it sucks now. Chevalier can easily be summoned with cards like Quick Draw Seacron and Junk Anchor, but I also propose this card receiving an errata to make it more useful, being a quick effect to negate an opponent's spell or trap instead of your turn only. Some of you might be thinking, isn't that a bit similar to Naruto the Moral Leader or Legendary 6 Samurai Shien? But there's nothing wrong with cards having similar effects for specific archetypes such as negation, bouncing, and draw power. Number 8. Gaia-Plate the Earth Giant. 2020 gave us the fossil cards, a long overdue archetype that has been buried underground in the GX era for so long and has finally resurfaced entering the real world. On top of that, Shell Knight will include an additional effect that can specifically search for Gaia-Plate, which is fitting as it is another card used by the fossil duelist himself. Assuming that Shell Knight is coming to the TCG at some point, it's only logical for Gaia-Plate to be included in the same set to make Shell Knight more valuable to go along with the celebration of Jim's fossil cards. Also, the card itself is really good. Number 7. Tribeinfecting Virus and Morphing Jar number 2. Both of these cards came off the ban list early 2020 after being sealed away for so many years. However, they have appeared to have been ignored by Konami because it was only in the September 2020 ban list Harpy's Feather Duster came off. Then 2 months later in November, Feather Duster would be released in Maximum Gold. Meanwhile, Tribeinfecting Virus and Morphing Jar number 2 haven't been as lucky, and okay, sure, neither of these cards will be treated as staples like Feather Duster, but if you're gonna take cards off the ban list, at least reprint them for newer and older players to experiment with them with all the new cards that have been created since their initial banning. Speaking of Feather Duster, there is another card that is similar to that card, and that is Lightning Storm. Simply put, this card should be a staple in every deck, or at least every side deck. With the 2020 Megatins come and gone, unless Konami reprints this card in early 2021, we will have to wait until the 2021 Megatins, which is a very long time away. Aside from going second to use this card, Lightning Storm can be used in Subterrace because their strategy is all about flipping themselves face down, which coincidentally fulfills the requirements to activate this card. Which also transitions to number 5. At number 5, it is Subterra Behemoth Umastrix. Subterras have attracted a fair amount of popularity, with Guru finally entering the TCG. However, Guru has had a total of 3 printings. Bearing in mind this card was already a common, so it was easy to obtain. Umastrix, however, has only received one printing as an ultra rare. Not only does that make it harder to find, but also more expensive, being legitimately a rare card. A very good one for a deck that once held its own stand in the meta briefly, but isn't that all the more reason to reprint Subterra Umastrix in another set? Number 4. Predaplant, Verte, Anaconda. One of the selling points to Dual Overload, Verte Anaconda is one of the best engines for any deck that specializes in fusion summoning. Whether it searches for the standard polymerization, an archetype-specific version of Poly, or even super polymerization, this card is extremely useful in a lot of decks, both competitive and casual. But I know what some of you blokes might be saying. Wasn't there another card that was also the selling point to Dual Overload? Oh, that's cute. That's really cute. St. Chris John Hauke Fibrax should still be in the game. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. At number 3, I may be cheating with this one as it is an import but should still be printed in the TCG, and that is the Code Talker Heat Soul. This is one of those game-defying cards that can completely alter the power for certain decks to give them a stance in the competition. So what is so important about the Code Talker Heat Soul? During either player's turn, you can pay 1,000 life points to draw a card. Awesome, that's like Pot of Greed if you keep it around for more than one turn, but the attribute is the ultimate highlight to this card. The fact this is a fire attribute Code Talker monster means that if you have Signet Codec in play, you are able to search for any Salamangreat monster or Degrade Buster, which is basically a quick effect version of Chaos Sorcerer for Cybers. The only other fire attribute Code Talker monster in the game is Power Code Talker, but the problem with that one is that it specifically requires 3 monsters to summon. Not 2+, but exactly 3 monsters. With all the pieces Cybers have to make them competitive, the Code Talker Heat Soul will be the final component to make Cybers as strong as they could ever be, regardless if they become tier 1, 2, or Rogue. Heat Soul will make Cybers a force to be reckoned with. Number 2. Number 89. Diablosis, the Mind Hacker. An insanely scary card that makes you want to read the effect twice in case you misread it. This card is essentially a DD Crow, Silver Rocket Dragon, and Iron Chain Dragon fused together without polymerization. A generic rank 7 Xyz that can easily be summoned in Dark Magician, Red Eyes, and Mermail decks, making it one of the craziest card designs to exist in Yu-Gi-Oh! The fact this is a number card is already enough for players to pick it up to complete their Number Hunters collection. However, this card was only released as a 2017 Champion Prize card, so anyone who couldn't participate, like, you know, people that don't live anywhere near these places, were left out of luck. It's a card desired from the perspective of collectors as well as competitive players, so really there's no reason to put this card off. Put it in a future set, Konami, and see how well people can utilize this card to strengthen their level 7 decks. Finally, at number 1 is a card that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. It's a primary reason why reprint videos like this one exist, and it's none other than Elemental Hero Air Neos. Why is it? Every year, Konami avoids this card like there are some kind of legal issues surrounding it. Do you guys remember? A couple years ago, when Neo-Spacians were making a resurgence, Konami really tried hyping this long-forgotten archetype into something that was finally playable? That would have been the perfect time to give us Air Neos, and a lot of people were making the same predictions, and yet we never saw that much needed reprint both Neo-Spacians and Hero players have been crying for. I can only surmise the reasoning behind not reprinting Air Neos is that Konami fears it may break the game, which, to be clear, is only speculation on my part. But if that were the case, that is what the ban list is for. Just look at Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion and how long that card went without a reprint, and when it finally happened, it was immediately banned on the following ban list. Adding insult to injury, in the 2018 set Shadows of Valhalla, Elemental Hero Chaos Neos was reprinted in it, and okay, it made sense at the time, even though that one was already reprinted in Legendary Collection Duel Academy. But then, in the 2020 set Battles of Legend Armageddon, Chaos Neos was reprinted yet again, despite only a 2-year gap from its last printing. It makes no sense, it's what fans have been demanding for years, it boggles the mind harder than playing Boggle, and it's all these reasons why Elemental Hero Air Neos must be reprinted more than any other card. And that is going to be the end of the video. What do you guys think of this list? Are there any cards that deserve a reprint more than the ones I mentioned? If so, then let me know in the comments, and if you think I made good points with my choices, then share with your mates, see if we can spread the word, and until next time, take care, mates.